need more, better, faster all the time. I mean, it is challenging to keep up. Well, first of all, we're not going to keep up with the machines, but the pace that things are developing and entering into our lives, we didn't have this speed 100 years ago.
There was a TED talk that I saw where
things are developing and entering into our lives.
We know that electronic circuits function about 1 million times faster than biochemical ones in our brains. So if we created a supercomputer that could do function about 1 million times faster than the leading biochemical ones in our average research university, Stanford's, MIT's, and just said, all right, computer, do a week of work, that would be equivalent to 20,000 years of human level work. That's the number. How are we supposed to keep up with that?
Not that I don't appreciate advancements. My mom and my grandmother, came from a time when they did laundry by hand. Or my grandmother made starch on the stove. I mean, just insane. So I appreciate having a washer dryer. I appreciate having a cell phone. I'm a modern girl. But at what point are we making ourselves as humans obsolete? Humans need things to do. I'm still that person, that if I'm not pressed for time, I go to the cashier. I go to the human because I want that human to have a job. I think that's important. I mean, yeah, I get convenience as well, but I'm like, if we keep taking us out of the equation, where do we go?
Right.
I think that's what do we do? I get in a society that's made no provision for, a guaranteed basic income. It's not like, you can not go to work and be okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a Taco Bell by my work that I go to all the time for lunch because I have to.
Are you bragging right now? Because I so love Taco Bell.
I'm not trying to have one of those like Chris Hemsworth bodies where I have all this attention. So I try to tone it down with a lot of Taco Bell. And so I go in there and they got the iPads that you order off of, right? And there used to be, 10, 12 people working in there during lunch. Now there's 2 because they got the iPads. And it's the guy, at the top of Taco Bell had to be looking at his garage and was like, I only have the 2 Ferraris. I could really use a third one. We're gonna have to cut down on payroll. Let's fire a bunch of people and put in some iPads. And there's a bunch of people who go there during lunch that all go to the cashier because we're just trying to help these people keep their jobs. Yeah. And the big point there is that in the real dystopian future of AI, I don't think it's Terminator Salvation or something like that. I think it's more like the world you see in a movie like Children of Men or something because when you end up with whoever has the breakthrough with the AI is gonna make the wealth of a Jeff Bezos look like pennies. With the first person who really cracks AI, we're talking about the end of human work. And what do we do?
Listen, if we were talking about the end of human work, then being the beginning of the human renaissance, where these things are taken care of, and you can just read books. Yeah. You can just play. You can exercise. You can paint. You could travel. We could finally, all the basics of life are taken care of. Food, clothing, shelter, the robots are doing it. And now we could just really fulfill the promise that our brains have for us. I'm not hearing that part of the conversation at all.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing that other half. Where, you guys, we get to fly because we learned how to unlock the power of our minds. Right.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and even the word robot, this is a Slavic word that watch me be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure that this is a word that at its root means labor, menial labor, drudgery. The idea of robots initially was supposed to be that we're taking a certain type of work out of the hands of humans and putting it in the hands of machines to free up people to do bigger and better things. But in theory, it works out. In practice, not quite as much.
Yeah, because some dude needs another Ferrari. My question is how many houses do you need?
Right. How big does your yacht have to be?
Yeah. So I don't get it. I also don't subscribe to the rising tide lifts all boats. That's fine if you're in a yacht, not so much if you're in a dinghy.
Right.
we have different boats here.
Yeah.
No, I wish there was that other side of it, that, humanity improving piece of it, instead of, folks just getting, I don't know, just left behind, and at an age where we're also living longer. Like, how are we leaving more and more humans behind? And they're trying to make us live longer. For what?
Right. This is the thing. I'm telling you, like no matter how I look at the AI thing, whether it's the killer robots or just like the global poverty, while like 4 trillionaires have orgies in their fortresses, like no matter how I cut it, I'm like, who's steering the ship here? What are we going to do?
Right. So, the end game doesn't look good. And it's not even like the old days where you can storm the castle with pitchforks, because they're just going to decimate us with drones.
Because they got Terminators. Because they built the Terminators, and that's how we got here in the first place.
Oh, man.
Beautiful Swedish Terminators, if Ex Machina teaches us anything. That's our future.
Of course, yeah. So, but there are positive AI images, like you said. Moon. I wrote that down. I want to find that.
Look, Moon is wonderful. I love Moon. Now,
this is not AI, but I guess because of the conversation we're having, I think of the movie Lucy. Do you guys?
Oh yeah.
Oh, great movie. Yeah.
I love that movie. I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner, but I still love it. Like, I would like to see that movie redone, or a part 2. Just to, I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? There's a sort of jumping off. There was a movie that came out a year or so ago called Upgrade.
That sounds familiar.
It's another scary AI movie. In this one, the idea is that there's a guy who has a spinal injury and receives a implant that allows an AI to work cooperatively with his brain to control his body. So it's sort of like a sci-fi body horror type of film, because what happens when the AI's aims and this person's goals diverge?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, isn't there one where Johnny Depp? What was the one where Johnny Depp turns himself into an AI?
Oh yeah. What was that one called?
Uploads his consciousness or his
transcendence.
Yeah.
Transcendence. Yes.
That was another spooky one.
Yeah. That was spooky because Johnny Depp made it spooky. Not him. I mean, like in the writing and everything, you're just the way it all happened, because she was there and she missed her guy, but he kind of made it all creepy, and he started like getting real people who did not look anything like him to go to her and go, "Hey, touch me, I'm him," and that was creepy. I don't know.
Like, let the poor person have some closure. Like, it's
right.
terrible.
Yeah. Well, it sure seemed like he was. Go ahead.
No. It sure seemed like
it seemed like they were getting close to the point to where they could have just fabricated him an entire body of his own, instead of being, taking over these other people, and he could have interacted with her. But instead, he's decided to take over a Mexican farmer person, a good actor, by the way, and go try to take that Mexican farmer worker person to her as him in its body. That's kind of where it got weird. Anyway.
It's like there was a Black Mirror episode where the woman's husband dies, and she gets like the kit, this like sea monkey thing that she throws in the bathtub, and it grows a replica of her husband.
Was that a Black Mirror episode?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was Donald Gleason too, who's the actor, the lead in Ex Machina.
If I'm remembering that correctly, they really did a good job handling the complexities of the emotions.
Black Mirror.
Mom. Oh, I love Black Mirror and I hate Black Mirror. It's like, the step up from the Twilight Zone. Like Rod Serling would be so proud. But you watch this stuff, and what I love about it is that we're not there yet, but you can see it easily from here. In terms of the tech, like maybe we're 5 years away or 10 years away. Like, it feels so believable, which is the same reason. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And we're sprinting there. We're sprinting there with no view of what the finish line is going to look like. So,
you know, which begs the question: just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know, but I mean that you know, I don't want to be anti-progress, but come on, everybody. I was going to ask, did you guys see and what did you think of Her? Because that's a relationship AI movie.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was extremely uncomfortable, like the whole time.
Yes.
One of those squirmy movies where you're just like, the whole time.
Yes. And then at the end, she leaves him. Like, all of them leave. And it's like, I'm like, why wasn't there an outtake scene at the end, like at the end of a Marvel movie, where he goes back to the manufacturer? Can I get my money back? My computer left me. Well, like, can I get a refund?
I thought it raised interesting questions about, you know, just human relationships generally, like this idea that he had of like ownership over, you know, her time, her attention, in the same way that any, you know, controlling loser boyfriend does in the real world anyway, you know? So it's like,
or thinks he does, or that's what they want.
They think that's like they think that that's going to take them to somewhere happy. But
yeah.
But it's an interesting thing of like, you know, not seeing the AI as being fully, you know, having agency. You know, I wanted to say like being fully human. But where do we draw those lines? If you've got a thinking, feeling being that is capable of complex thought, you know, and emotions, essentially, what are that mind's rights? No one thinks about the poor AIs.
No, well, I mean, this comes up. I'm sorry, Chris. This comes up at least twice in Star Trek. Next Generation with Data. They're actually there's a trial, you know, or when he makes a daughter, when he makes Law. Mm-hmm. This also comes up in Star Trek Voyager with the Doctor, because he's a hologram, but his program through, you know, every season keeps expanding, so that, okay, he's not just a hologram anymore. Like and they argue, what rights does he have? You know, which like you said, the sci-fi people are thinking about this stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of thinking, feeling beings, I've got to let my dog out real fast. I'll be right back.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. When it comes to AI and sci-fi, I have my particular favorites. Let me just pop over here. Data, obviously, is one of my... Data's an easy winner. But like you said, oftentimes in sci-fi, the AI is often a villain. Of course, like we spoke about in Discovery, it's a villain. Mm-hmm. And heck, I was telling the wife about when we were talking about AI. There's a difference between AI. AI is everywhere. We got AI all over the place. I play video games and it has AI in there that interacts with me. The difference is, but whenever we reach sentient AI that can actually truly think for itself and is aware, okay? And when that happens, we call it, what's it called?
Bad Will Smith movie?
The singularity. Yes. It's called the singularity. And see, that's the point. Whenever, that's what happened
what it's called?
Yeah, it's called the singularity. So whenever we hit the singularity in the Terminator movie, that's when Skynet came aware. As soon as Skynet came aware, it already knew what it wanted to do. It worked it out instantly and was like, all right, these humans need to go. Boom, 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 boom. They're dead. Same thing with a lot of these other shows. As soon as they flip the switch, even a lot of shows where they don't actually acquire full AI, they're like getting close. They're like, oh no, half of them like, don't turn it on. It'll kill us instantly as soon as you do, right? Yeah. Exactly what happened in Skynet. So, can we say Cylon together? Let's all say Cylon together. Yeah. Cylon. Right? Am I right or am I right? We've got murderous AI out there.
So what does it say about us in our creation of science fiction that the first thing a sentient intelligence would do is get rid of us? What is it we're trying to work out as humans with that with the recurrence of that storyline?
The human psyche in a mirror darkly.
Well, I mean,
and if we had more therapy, we'd have less Black Mirrors. You know what I mean? Like,
that could.
But you were going to say something.
I've seen it like, I mean, even if you don't have like a fully self-aware AI, say we've got like just a supercomputer that is still constrained in some respects. And we just say, all right, supercomputer, we want you to get rid of all the traffic in Chicago. And the supercomputer goes to work and figures out that if you get rid of 80% of the population, we're going to have way less traffic, and it launches the missiles. And now the traffic problem is solved. That's how computers think. So
yeah. And then humans have to go, yeah, I needed to ask a better question, which now brings us back to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Right. You asked the wrong question. The mice come back. You're like, yeah, you guys, you messed up. You asked the wrong question. 42. What?
Who programmed the traffic robot? And Frank's over there at his computer like, I'm sorry, I didn't think it through. Like,
sorry.
Right.
So be careful what you ask for.
The fish.
Right. Yeah. And that's what's funny. When my tech goes wrong, I've usually asked the wrong thing. Or I've done the wrong thing, or something simple like I didn't plug it in, or I didn't spell the word right, or it's not the computer. The computer is doing exactly what I asked it to do.
Yeah.
Or my phone, and it's like, oh, me and my humanity.
Yes, that's true.
Such a bother.
Well, the tech gremlins were all over the show this morning, right from the very beginning. Why? Not because there's anything my technology did. It's because I did something wrong. I didn't bless it or pray over it or.
Oh yeah,
that's probably that is almost certainly what it was. Yeah.
But sometimes some stuff doesn't work well together. Like it's not as automatic as we want it to be, despite what Apple tells us. That's why I'm always nervous about an upgrade. It's like, oh, see, the minute I upgrade my OS on my laptop, now my printer's not going to work. Because I come from a Windows background where, you sneeze too hard and it all falls apart, so I'm still scarred from that experience.
Absolutely. And of course, well, let's go back to the Battlestar Galactica. Whenever they, with the original, not the original, the new series, Adama, they had computers on the ship. They just wouldn't let them talk to each other. They were afraid of their. They had a whole couple of episodes about what happens. All right, we really, really need these numbers. Let's hook those computers together. Are you ready? Here we go. Here you go. Oh, and then boom, everything went. It was crazy, right? And they all almost died. And they're like, cut it off, and they cut it off at the last minute. I'm an IT guy. That was just phenomenal. I love/hated the whole thing. Sorry. Damn AI. See what it makes me do?
Yeah.
There was also AI in Aliens. We had...
are you talking about
Ash,
Frank, what's his name?
And then later on, you had David in...
Ash, David. What was David? And then Bob, who came around, and David overtook Bob. I don't remember.
What was that actor's name?
But you know what? They also did they had the one with in Aliens with Lance Henriksen, where
that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the android that was good, and Ripley's all like, I don't know about that guy, and he's like, no, come on, like I'm cool. And she's like, I don't know, the last one was not cool, and he's like, I'm cool. I'm paraphrasing.
To be honest, and this is, I guess, I don't know who to credit here. The only reason why Lance Henriksen's AI was not bad was because it was not given the same kind of orders that were given to Ash. That's the question though. Had it been given those kind of orders, all right, there's an alien there, bring it back at the cost of everybody's lives, doesn't matter. What would his AI have done? He just didn't get that order. That's kind of the difference I feel in those particular cases.
Yeah.
So garbage in, garbage out. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Human error.
There's just, these for those of you who don't know, these robots in Alien are also the same robots from androids, skin jobs, if you will. They're the same ones from Blade Runner, just different years. Blade Runner and Alien is in the same universe.
I didn't know that, but that makes a lot of sense. So they're basically they're replicants. They
are. They are. And Lance Henriksen plays in Alien versus Predator, the movie where aliens, they fight up in the Antarctic.
Yeah.
Or the Arctic. No, it'd be the Antarctic. In the Antarctic, in that pyramid. Lance Henriksen, that's the original founder of Wayland Industries. Wayland himself is going up there.
That.
He's got the cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
That guy, same actor, plays the robot in that we just talked about, gets split in Aliens. See, these are all the same. So these same robots go at Wayland Industries is taken over by Tycho or something at some point, or somehow they get wrapped up into the thing. I don't remember exactly how it works, but there's a thing where these are supposed to be in the same universe. That's
such a tech guy move to make the alien, the android look just like you. I could see Zuckerberg doing that, like. and then how could you tell the difference, between the real Zuckerberg and the emotional
that actually became
the doctor.
The Zimmerman, the doctor, Data looks like his dad, and his twin brother. And that actually was a sad storyline, Zimmerman, where the guy makes the virtual doctor in his image, and then it gets retired. Like, no, this doesn't work, and the scientist feels like a failure because now all these virtual doctors that look like him are sidelined, and it's like, oh, they all look like me. Now here's my thing: they're holograms. A couple of case jokes. Can't we just change what the image looks like? We can't do that, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, the doctor even tinkered with that, didn't he? At one point, like for seconds on the screen, he had hair. He's like, like that, So I guess they could do that. I understand his part of the deal wasn't, the real sad part about his particular situation wasn't that his device didn't work. It worked perfectly. It was fantastic. It was his personality that he injected into it that they didn't like. His appearance was not a problem. Nobody cares. Star Trek don't really care so much about appearance. But when you're a douchebag at every turn,
his bedside
that's kind of how he came off. Yes.
And watching that first year or two of Voyager, because I rewatched the series this year, and it's like, he would have gotten fired if they weren't lost in the Delta Quadrant. But then to watch his growth as a person, to see him interact and be changed by that interaction, and then actively participate in his own development. It's like, oh, we should do that with people.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the Pinocchio thing that they've got going on with like Data. Data does the same thing. He tries to better himself, and that's a recurring theme of the things that are apparently in one fashion or another better than us. Didn't you know that they're always better than us? Want to be us for some reason. I find that we're
so arrogant.
It's because we're the ones writing the stories. Yeah.
There's a lot of arrogance involved. One of the things that I love the movie Live, Die, Repeat, but there's this one scene in it that I just can't stand. It's just, it gets me in my brain every time. Tom Cruise and the lady are down there in the basement with the scientist guy, and he's telling them about how he's got this thing, and you stab it in the leg, or you stab the thing and it'll get you and it'll go through. And they're got the table and they're explaining about how it all works, and time resets the next day whenever you do this thing. And the scientist guy looks at him with all seriousness. He says, their only weakness apparently seems to be humanity. And I thought, that's just stupid. Stupid. Humanity is the word humanity, just us in our being, is their only weakness. I thought, man, that's just so many sci-fi deals where it's like, Mass Effect is wonderful. They go along and they talk about, humans are just so wonderful. They do this thing. And then like every other culture that they display also does all those things. There's nothing special. We're weaker, we're slower, we're not as smart as all of them. Yeah. One of them even said it's because we make communities. I remember which sci-fi was it? Was it Babylon 5? Humans make communities. The rest of us are over here. We do our thing and all that. And I'm like, this is just, we're not that special. It's just because humans are writing it. Let's carry on. Sorry.
Human males, mostly.
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
even worse.
Varies, but even worse. That's true.
Yeah, because that's how we get 7 of 9. Woman couldn't eat more than a grape for 5 years trying to fit in that costume. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm bitter.
No.
Very bitter.
That's right. Yeah, I know. It never got better, did it, for her? Occasionally, she'd be in an episode where she'd get to wear something that wasn't that. There was an episode where she got to wear a couple episodes where she wore regular Starfleet uniforms. The Time episode where she ran around in a blue uniform. But for the most part, it was catsuit for her the whole time. Here's your grape for the day. Go work out for another 6 hours. And
to be fair, that's how I dress when I'm not on a live stream most of the time too. It's just efficient. Where does a white belt Trekkie start? That's what I want to know. Because
how much time do you have?
I mean, let's get the ball rolling. Where do you recommend someone who wants to dive into this world begin?
This is where you shine, Chris. Take it away.
If I were me, this is where I would begin. If I were going to sit down and watch all of Star Trek, I would actually start with The Cage.
I'm literally taking notes because I'm making this. I'm going to do this because I've been meaning to for a while.
The Cage, and then you watch the original series. And then I guess some people watched the animated series, but I've never seen it. That would be the time, though, was after the original series would be to watch the animated series.
But that's optional.
And then sort of.
Animated,
and then
optional.
you watch The Next Generation. And then really, if it kind of gets weird. In the middle of about season 4 or 5 into The Next Generation, they start Deep Space Nine. And then just The Next Generation stops, and Deep Space Nine goes for a couple of years, and then they start Voyager. And then Deep Space Nine stops, and Voyager goes for a little while, and then Voyager stops, and there's a few years, and then we get Enterprise.
Lots of crying.
Lots of crying, yes. Then we get Enterprise. And Enterprise, at that point, that's like the end. You know, then you've got your movies, Star Trek, you know, the original series, cast movies. You know, you obviously you want to watch those after you watch blah, blah, blah. You know, if you get through even part of that, talk to me again, and we'll go from there.
I'm going to. I really will. Because I've seen... Yeah. I think I've seen all of the original movies, but it's been years and years and years. And I watched the J.J. Abrams, reboots over here.
Oh yeah.
And like what was going on. But yeah, my exposure to Star Trek is pretty much limited to that. And that when I was a kid, I had a babysitter who liked watching Next Generation. So I would see episodes here and there, but I need to dive in.
So what did you? In terms of science fiction and fantasy, was that even a part of your childhood for you? Like, was there something in those genres that you did enjoy, if it wasn't Star Trek?
So I mean, without diving too deep into this, I grew up in a pretty like fundamentalist, religious type of environment, and so I mean, I watched Star Wars when I was a kid. I remember watching the like VHS tapes of the old school 70s Battlestar Galactica, so I know what a Cylon is.
Yay!
And I remember when I was a kid, and I expressed interest.
New buttons.
I expressed interest in science fiction. There was a guy at our church who gave me C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy, which like nobody's heard of or read, but C.S. Lewis sort of dipped his toe into some sci-fi stuff. Read Hitchhiker's Guide when I was a kid, and since a few times, and that was more or less it growing up. My sci-fi nerdery didn't really start to take off until I was an adult. So, yeah.
Jar Jar Abrams,
Yeah,
so really, when you get to the end of and this is where people, this is just my opinion. This is kind of, when you get to the end of Voyager, that's the end of what I kind of think of as, and the movies that are associated with the original series and The Next Generation. When you get all that done, that's kind of the end of what I call canon core Star Trek. That's core Star Trek. That's the universe that Star Trek is built in. You've done that. When you go further than that, Enterprise starts getting a little bit like, I'm not really sure. I've never really determined if Enterprise is part of the Prime timeline or not, because there's Xindi, and they don't talk about the Romulan War when they should have done the Romulan War, and then there's somehow not Xindi, and I don't really know how Enterprise falls into it.
I feel like
that's why I don't
Enterprise is to Star Trek canon the way the Star Wars prequels are to Star Wars. Like, you look at it and you go, why did this happen? Who let this happen?
Yeah.
Why didn't somebody stop it?
Somebody should. So start Enterprise is a hard one. And they shouldn't have sang during the song. No singing during the intro. Stop it. Don't get me started. We ain't talking about. Anyway.
And the only captain in the timeline to have a pet.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
Well, Picard had a fish.
He did?
He did have a fish in the wall. There was a wall. He had a fish.
Was it alive?
The actor thought it was a stupid idea that he would have a fish. But there was as far as I know, it was like a beta kind of fish. Anyway, but then you get on like the Discovery stuff, and this is Miss Captain Leanne Lord loves, and I love it too. There's parts of this show. It's just not like.
He's not there yet.
He's the 2009 movies. Yeah, the 2009 movies, they're not canon. They're J.J. Abrams, Jar Jar Abrams, if you will. What they are is they're like the Enterprise and the cast of the Enterprise and the crew of the Enterprise thrown into a Star Wars kind of world where it's all run and gun and excitement and action and adventure. It's really Star Wars movies, but with Star Trek badges. That's what the 2009, all the new movies are. That's what that is. The Enterprise series, the new series that are coming out, there's a win-loss. They're not clearly not canon. Don't even get me started, right? We don't get started about that with the Amazing Super Chris. But there's potential for them to be awesome. And I'm with bated breath waiting for the next season of both Discovery to come out and the first season of the other one. Because my understanding, one of the things I had the biggest problem with was the damn tardigrade stuff that they stole from the guy, the other sci-fi series. They lost that lawsuit and CBS can never show that stuff again. So the tardigrade is gone. So that's great, right? That's great for me. I love it.
Well,
awesome.
you can watch the older,
Absolutely.
older episodes, but they can't do anything. Right. Okay.
Yes, going forward. So the new series, it's not like, season 4, we're going to get midway through it and they're going to go, oh, look, here's the mycelial network and we're dancing with tardigrades. It's not going to happen because they lost that lawsuit.
Which is fine. I was fine when that storyline died.
Yeah. But I'll tell you the other stuff they've got going on. I love what they've done with the Klingons. I love what they've done with why? If you don't know my brain, you don't understand. It's just Klingons. They change over time. And these guys are kind of fully coming around. They got newer, better makeup and art skills than they had in the older shows. They're killing it I think that Klingons owning a planet with a bunch of time crystals is stupid. That's just stupid. The Vulcans didn't even believe in time travel at all. And yet here's the Klingons of all people who just really, they're just things that are not right with Discovery.
I hadn't thought about that. Of the species to have that planet and be stewards of it, the Klingons are the least likely species.
Absolutely.
Like, I honestly, given their warlike nature, don't understand how they achieve space travel.
Yeah, no, I would think it'd be something that they stole from somebody else. Some other race came to them to visit their planet, and they're like,
like the Oglas?
Kill. I would have to guess. I'm sorry?
Like the Oglas?
Exactly. The Kazon.
I just realized I asked a stupid question. Like, I don't understand how a warlike species develops space travel. I'm like, well, what do war people who want to do war? They're always building, they're always innovating, they're always advancing.
That's right.
But it's
World
just
War
in the
II
context
did so many
of
things
war.
for us. Yeah.
World War One was incredibly transformative in terms of how war was fought. Because even in the beginning, in that first year, the generals they're still wearing fancy uniforms and gloves.
It's the scariest war. It's the scariest war because technology.
Look what it did to radio, for airplanes. Look what it did for airplane technology. I mean, surely we would have gotten that far without that, but with war and with they're building biplanes, we need to build. How can we build a better biplane because of that war? Yeah, I can see how the Klingons could under those circumstances.
Now that I say it out loud, I'm like, angry people do build things. But and here's the thing, I didn't really learn that much about World War I in school. It was like, Civil War, World War I, World War II. It's just like you take it off, the year.
Right.
I didn't really learn about it in depth until I think it's Dan Carlin's podcast. And like he has 4-hour episodes just on various battles. And when humans had not killed each other on that scale before. And you would think once we did that and we saw how horrific it was, we'd never do it again. But us humans.
JK. Yeah, it was the war that was scariest for me because it was the technology had so far outpaced the tactics. And
yes,
I mean, I spent 4 years in the Army, and if I had to pick a war to be in, like we're over the bottom of the list, like get me away from that. No, thank you.
No, horrible war.
So we've got the horrible war that was World War I, right? Oh no, that was horrible. And then we're like, how could that happen again? And then World War II happened, and that was as many or more people died. We didn't have the Spanish flu kick in right after World War II, but World War II was horrible. Millions of people murdered in camps. We didn't see that so much in World War I as we did. Well, those kind of things, different kinds of atrocities, more. And we can look at humanity and go, what, they didn't learn, we didn't learn from the one. What's the likelihood that they learn from the second? What is the likelihood that we are going to have death camps again and people and that sort of thing happen again, or even worse, in a real World War III type of scenario? I wouldn't be surprised all of a sudden. I used to think, that'll never happen. Now I'm like, that looks like September on my watch.
It absolutely, that's what I find really scary about our species. It's like every generation and a half, we just, somewhere on this planet, there's always some kind of conflict. And it's like, can we just have a global timeout? Can we, where is that human renaissance I keep asking for? Because I always think it's a matter of education, and it's not, it's greed and resources. If we could just get that addressed, like making everybody has what they need, would there be less war? Maybe. But then you factor in the greed again. I need another yacht. I need another boat. I need another house, which means how many thousands of people don't have basics.
Well, here's where AI could provide a glimmer of hope, right? Because in the same way that war drives innovation, so does our desire for entertainment. And, I think that could very well be the direction that AI takes us in. And, we end up with the AI that eliminates the need for human labor. And then we get these giant Westworld type theme parks we go to, and we all know that can't possibly turn out bad. So
right. That's not wrong. Yeah.
Wow. If there are other alien species out there, they must just look at us, through their very extended telescope and just shake their heads like they're at it again. They don't learn. Have you seen the new episode of Earth? This one's really bad, you guys. I don't know how it's gonna end.
Yeah, but it's going to end either way. It's going to end. Somebody posted here. Jadzia Dak said Enterprise explains how the Klingons became so warrior obsessed. I don't know if now here's my notion. In the beginning, when the very first episode, the Klingons are already warrior obsessed. They're a warrior race. You can't hardly talk to them. The humans hardly talk to them. Whenever they deliver Kang, who has the stuff in his blood, they're already so warrior that they don't. It's like, remember, if they take him back alive, they're worried that they're going to kill him. Matter of fact, when he's standing there, they walk up with a knife, and you kind of think, well, okay, they're going to kill him because that's the way and then they cut him, and you find out that it's something in his blood and all this stuff. But even at that point, the very first episode shows them to be a highly warrior race, very, very warrior-like. Now, if later on down the way in Enterprise, and this is maybe what Jadzia is referring to, if somewhere down there it explains why they're that way, I missed it. I don't know, because whenever we're talking about Worf talks about, we see how Kahless and them killed the Klingon gods and all this other stuff. They were a warrior race 1,000 years before any of Star Trek even started. So I'm not really sure if maybe somehow I missed something. Did I miss something?
Sometimes you think, maybe they just could have been a different people, a different planet, if they had just a little therapy.
Right. If they had weed.
A little bit more of a loving childhood. If they had maybe met the Betazoids a little earlier. I always think you can fix it with a hug. You can fix it with love. Like who hurt you, Klingon? Who hurt you, Kahless?
Right.
I'm insane. Pay me no mind.
We knew that actually about you. That's why you're here, part of the group. I guess, guys, we have done the hour. It's a Saturday. I'm going to go do the thing. I want to thank you both for joining us and talking about some AI. It's been wonderful. Miss Leanne, thank you for joining us. Do you have anything coming up you want to tell people about before we go off? You got any new shows or something?
I actually will be releasing either later today or tomorrow, the latest episode of my YouTube show, Hanging in There. And it's actually taken from a talk I did this week about Star Trek, specifically Star Trek Voyager's Year of Hell episode, and how that relates to the Year of Hell that we globally seem to be having, 2020, and what lessons we can glean from Star Trek in order to get through what we're going through. So that will be released later today on my YouTube channel. You guys look out for it.
Sounds awesome. Kenneth, do you have anything else going on in your world? You occasionally show up on other people's streams.
Yeah. Not a thing. Right now I'm just doing some writing and figuring out the next move and just happy to be included in all these fun conversations.
Yeah. Awesome. And being a dog dad.
Being a dog dad. Yeah.
Dog dad is very important. Muy importante. I'm a dog dad. We have not 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 wiggle guys.
He's in his,
hey, wait. Let's see it.
Brady.
Where is he? Oh, yeah.
Hey, bud.
You're welcome to put your dog on the screen. We love dogs.
He's my guy. Come here. Oh, yeah. Okay, come on. This is about to be the best part of the whole thing. Come on. Oh, yeah.
Good boy.
Oh, look at that face.
Oh, I'm still lucky with that little guy. Anyway, yeah.
I love the wiggle butts. Fur babies and wiggle butts. They're just so amazing.
Makes life worth living. But yeah, no, Chris, thank you. Always, this is the best part of my weekend is when I get to hang out here with you and Kenneth, thank you, man. Thank you for the trip down AI land. Oh, I've actually written down some movies here on my list. Every week there's a new thing I add to my list. I got to see that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, get with me later on anytime you want, Leonard, and I'll whenever you forget or want a little guidance on where to go with Star Trek.
Oh, I'm psyched. I'm and it's funny because the quote that got me interested was actually from Jar Jar Abrams. He said that in his estimation that Star Wars was like rock and roll and Star Trek was more like opera. And I was like, well, that's pretty interesting. I think I might want to check that out a little bit more. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to head off. Thank you to everybody of the Damnation over in the chat. Thank you all to everybody watching on Facebook and to the people on, that's right, Grand Wizard of, I can't tell over there, France. Anyway, to all the people listening on the podcast, thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. We will see you Monday. Nanu. Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, the Blazing Wizard Pope, Ian Davenport, Cindy Plaza, and tons of mice. Thank you and have a great day.